So in talking to customers, one thing that comes up all the time is, of course, well, how much is the box, right? And it's a lot of money, or it's not enough money, or well, I'm spending this much money on bandwidth, etc. So I want to take a few minutes and talk about how we think about pricing and the issues we want to solve for customers. And in talking to customers who really have an issue that we can solve today, and we're doing betas right now, how do they think through the investment that they will make with our systems, and some of the metrics that they look at, right? So let's kind of start at the top, right? So the first thing that you want to think about is, well, you have a link today. It's a 1 gig, 5 gig, whatever it happens to be. How well are you using it, right? Are you completely utilizing it to the point that you need more bandwidth? You're not using it at all because of latency issues, or it's somewhere in the middle, right? So in many cases, I mean, a very typical case for, say, financials or for point-of-sale type companies is that, well, I have a link and I'm running out of capacity because my replication traffic is just growing by leaps and bounds, and I can't keep up. And I just can't keep buying bandwidth that fast, right? There's too much cost to that, right? So can I reduce the traffic such that I don't need to upgrade today or for a long time? Second one is people say, well, I bought a 10 gig link coast to coast thinking I would get 10 gigabits per second. Because of the latency issues, you do not. Right? Because of TCP issues that we talked about in other videos, you just cannot get that performance. So all they care about is, well, can you fill my pipe? Okay, and then you have kind of a smattering of folks who kind of want both of them because, well, they have the latency issue as well as the, they can't fill that link. So it's a bunch of those kinds of scenarios, but really the question is, what is the problem that you're trying to solve, right? What is your usage model today, right? If it's TCP, then it's easy. Hey, I'm losing this much money today, I just need to, if I made an investment to recover this money, is it worth it, right? So that's one way to think about it. Second thing that a lot of customers, many folks, you talk to them in the kind of first meeting, they say, well, my bandwidth costs N number of dollars, megabit a month, right? They'll give you numbers like, okay, mine costs $2 a megabit a month. In some cases, it's $5. If you go outside the US, it's much larger than that. In some cases, we've talked to customers who have, $150 a megabit a month. Those kinds of, very, very high prices. All of those cases, yes, that's true. Of course, you have to pay an OpEx, which is monthly or yearly or whatever. The additional cost that sometimes is glossed over is the CapEx of upgrading your routers and switches to meet the demands of that new bandwidth. So for example, if you're doing, say, you go from OC48 to OC192, you need to buy a OC192 card, or probably 2 on your edge routers, right? Those are very expensive. Who's paying for that, right? That needs to be kind of accounted into this math, and what you need to do is amortize it over a year or 3 years and see, well, how much am I really paying for this link? It's not just the OpEx, it's also the CapEx. Because remember, our boxes are CapEx, obviously, you buy them today, right? So are you thinking about that? In many cases, that number can be very large, right? I mean, until very recently, OC192 cards, you could spend $400,000 or $500,000 for a card, right? That's a lot of money, and if you need to buy 4 of them for a link, that's a lot of money, right? So who's paying for that, right? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you kind of think about the new investment you're going to make, because what you're doing is, instead of upgrading, so instead of making that CapEx investment plus that OpEx investment, right? You're going to buy something else, right? So how's that working out? Right? So that's very important. And also something to recognize is that in many cases what customers say is, and what providers will tell you all the time is, well, you know what, if for some reason because of latency issues, etc., if you're not able to utilize your entire link, well, you should upgrade it and then, you'll get double what you used to. Well, because of TCP or whatever other issues you're having, maybe it's loss or, whatever the issue happens to be because of TCP, you may not be utilizing your new link either, right? So you go from say a 2.5 gig link to a 10 gig link, you're still gonna have that latency issue. Are you solving that? So right out the door, you may be actually signing up to be wasting money, right? It happens all the time. If you're going, anything over the, my personal rule of thumb, if you're going 500 miles or more, you have a TCP issue. Just don't know it. But of some sort. You may be congesting the link, and because of that you may be causing issues, or you may just not have enough bandwidth, enough usage out of the link. If all you're doing is replication, which means you probably have fewer connections than other companies, it's possible that you're not using that link entirely. And products such as ours can really help with that. So these are kind of some of the things that you should think about. Everything from it's not just the OpEx of how much bandwidth costs today. It's the equipment that you need to buy to upgrade your network to be able to handle that traffic, right? That's very important. It's not just, oh, I need to get some reduction and, give me 3x or 4x. Yeah, you should, of course, those are things you should ask. But another thing to consider as well, TCP could also be the bottleneck. What am I doing about that? Do I need QoS on this link? What am I doing about that? So it's a barrage of those things. And to kind of help you visualize what I'm talking about, let me kind of draw a kind of a diagram of what I'm saying. So if this were months, so 1, 2, 3, whatever, let's say 12 months, right? And this is the dollars that you're paying on a monthly basis, right? So today, let's say you're paying whatever. Let's say you're paying some number of dollars today, right? What you want to do is basically upgrade that bandwidth, right, and get more out of it, right? So what you're really signing up to do is pay more, right, to get a certain amount of bandwidth, right? What we're saying is, well, firstly, this is probably a little bit higher because of the capex for the equipment, which people typically tend to not think about when they do ROI analyses. And secondly, what we're saying is, well, don't do any of that. What you should be doing is really pay for our box, okay, over some amount of time. As long as, for our box, if you can pay our box off within 12 months, it's a very good deal, right, as an example, right? That's a really good kind of return on investment. The rest of this money, all of this money, that's the value we create for you, right? Our box just paid for all of this. This is money that you got back because you made an investment in our box. Okay? So save all this money. The upfront money you're spending on a box from us or from any WAN optimization company for that matter, you're recovering that money, obviously, because the ROI is hopefully less than a year, and then you're making money because you no longer have to spend that capex or opex over, say, 3 years. So, and that's the value. That's kind of how we encourage our customers to think about it, and in having conversations with some very large customers, this is how they agree this is the right way to think about this too. Hopefully this is useful as you think about our product and other products in this business.